Welcome to Eurovision Kiki. We're three Americans who have fallen in love with Eurovision. I'm Doug.
I'm Steven.
I'm Katie. And here on Eurovision Kiki, we're bringing you the best information about the Eurovision Song Contest.
We'll bring you the music, history, traditions,
and all the tea currently surrounding the world of Eurovision.
And welcome to another episode of Eurovision Kiki. Before we kind of dive into today's topic, which is going to be about genres of music, let's kind of take a pulse check. What have we been listening to? What have people been up to? Who wants to get us rolling? How about Steven or Katie?
Dang, I'll go ahead.
No, but ladies, biological ladies first.
Fair enough. I was going to say Joost and Käärijä came out with TRAFIK this week, and it is so fun. So fun. It is like a manic episode. Do not listen to it in your car for the first time because all the traffic sounds, the siren sounds, the crash sounds will throw you off. I made that mistake. I made that mistake. Don't make the same mistake I did. But it's like so good for both of them. It's like so each of them and them together, and it's so fun.
I'm happy for them. I'm also angry at them for the same time because we literally just had a conversation about this. For your favorite artists, do not put out music until after September 1st because I guarantee you if those two would have come together, it would have been the 2025 Eurovision that we need.
But who would they be representing? And also the song is only 2 minutes long.
Well, I mean, they have up
songs,
till
right?
Yeah. They've done it before, you know. They've expanded songs before, but it doesn't always have to be maximum 3 minutes, you know. They could finish it at the 2-minute mark. And also I feel as though Finland has sort of adopted has adopted Joost. So my guess would be Finland would welcome him with open arms.
That seems like something you could also shop around. You say, we have this banger, who wants it? And I know our country that gets this is gonna do well.
And if it's Joost already courting Belgium, then maybe that works out. If Käärijä is open to it.
Something tells me that he's open to any and all opportunities. And so I'm here for it. But just in general, it was kind of Eurovision music galore this past week at the time of this recording, because our singer from Ukraine, Jerry, had also put out a song as well titled Virgin Maria, which I also recently started streaming and listening to as well. Again, 2 minutes max, I think, in length of song, but it's to the point. I love it. It reminds me a lot of her song from 2024 this year that she competed with, and I just think it's beautiful. I feel very ethereal, honestly, when I listen to it, which is not something that I would think I would feel, but I do.
Do you want to frolic through a field?
I want to put on a very dainty sundress and just run through some wildflowers while listening to this, screaming that I'm not a virgin, but I'm also not the Virgin Maria. I don't know.
Do you want to borrow my dirndl from Oktoberfest?
Yes.
Please. Okay.
I also
wear it.
For those that also know me, I own like 4 caftans, so I could also just frolic in my caftan.
As one does.
For sure.
Doug, what's going on in your world? I know that you were on vacay for a little bit too.
Yep, was on vacation on the Oregon coast, just taking some time with the dogs and my partner Ryan. So that was a good time. I have been in a rabbit hole of Kano recently, so not necessarily new music, just listening to their album on repeat. So, talk to me when they're back in Eurovision, and until then, I'll just keep listening to them on repeat.
When was their last appearance in Eurovision? I know they've been to the Norway finals or
it had to have been 2019.
So 2019 is when they were in Eurovision. 2021 and 2024 they came in second place for the national finals. So,
gotcha.
You know, I've got my thoughts and my opinions.
Yeah. I have my thoughts and opinions as well. I think
we will
rightfully
save that for the
so.
2021 rewind.
Yeah. We'll save that. Yeah, let's save that one. Put a pin in it for now.
Put a little pin in that, but we'll definitely be talking about Kano again because they're kind of my new favorite band.
Perfect.
So, but no, I mean, music has just been off the hook, especially these last couple of weeks. So I think it's only fitting that with today's episode, as we dive into that of the musical genres that we see pretty widely throughout the history of Eurovision, this is a great opportunity to jump into it. So, Doug, you being the historical guru that you are, I'm extending my hand to you right now. Take me on this journey with you.
Absolutely. All right. So everybody wants a winning song, right? Like you go in saying, we want to win Eurovision. So what wins? And when we look at all of the winners, so over the years, 51% of winning acts have been pop songs.
Right.
So it's a solid genre that people go to. So I think that is kind of a safe bet in a way. We also see that 23% of the winning acts are ballads or like a power ballad. So that's another big category. 9% of songs have been folk songs, so like more of a traditional cultural type song. So those are the biggest percentage genre categories. And so maybe today let's talk about some of those categories and maybe some of our favorite songs from within those.
I'm game.
For sure.
So maybe we take a look first at some folk, more traditional, cultural type songs. And this is not to say that a song has to be just one genre.
Totally.
I mean, many songs are trying to incorporate different elements of different genres to really attract that audience. But just for the purposes of today's episode, let's talk about each individual category. So do folks have any traditional songs that have jumped out to them in recent years?
Yeah, I would say Russia's entry from 2012, which was, the song is Party for Everybody by Buranovsky Babuski. I'm going to butcher so many of these, but, you know, we're doing our best.
Give it the old college try.
Yeah. But like you were saying, like I feel like some can be in multiple genres, and this one I could totally see also in the kind of quirky That's So Eurovision genre, because the act is 6 literal grannies, babushkis, in like traditional Russian garb, singing partly in Russian, partly in English, like about coming to a party. So I just like really loved that. And it's very fun.
It's also one of the staples when you think of Eurovision memes, Eurovision clips or reels that you may see that tries to help summarize what you could expect from Eurovision. I don't like to use the word shtick because I hear so many people use that to sort of define Eurovision as a whole, and I severely disagree with it. But in this case, that is one of the songs where it's shtick, but in such a right way. You can't help but love the grandmas.
Yeah, and I would say, you know, we can stay away from shtick. Camp, it's like so camp, and I don't feel like that's as like kind of rude
negative
or shady
or
as shtick is.
Correct.
It's camp.
It's camp.
It's a fine line between the positive and negative connotations, right?
Fair.
I agree.
And I feel like they did relatively well that year, didn't they?
I think so.
Don't quote me, but I do want to say within top 10.
Yeah, that's
at least
what I
had
thought.
to be top 10.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna have to sit down and watch that one for future rewind too.
We are gonna watch all of them at some point.
At some point we will, for sure.
Well,
but,
for
me,
me, a cultural one that pops out in my mind is Greece in 2019 and Opa. Just a lot of fun takes you back to Greece. I've never been there, but takes you back to it. Just really enjoyed what they were bringing to the table and just really was there for it. Another Greece song that folks probably are going to be talking about in future years is Marina from Greece this year. I will be honest and say wasn't for me, but you see it on the internet that people really loved what she was bringing, and she was infusing sort of a folk traditional sound into sort of a modern Greek style. So I think that she really sort of injected a lot of energy into the cultural traditional sound.
I agree. Not that song also not a cup of tea for me at all. But I do recall very vividly as we were at the show this year, the crowd was there for it. And
Absolutely.
We all just kind of sat around bopping along, but also had absolutely no idea why there was so much love for this song. But I get it. It from a cultural lens, Greece was really getting you into their upbringing and what their traditions and sort of Grecian culture is all about. So you have to give her props for that, if nothing else. I'm trying to think of one, and I think it was Albania last year, and when I say last year, I mean 2023. And I want to say the name of the song was Duje.
Yeah.
And it was a family.
That's the divorce bad song, right?
Divorce is bad, but stick with the family. And that I just remember that's essentially what the song was about. And they were all on stage as a family, but at certain dance segments and points of that performance, they whipped out the cloths and were doing a little bit of like their cultural dances and things to that nature. While also, I think within the Albanian country, divorce is a huge stigma still, and so for them to talk about we're a family that's part of divorce, but we still love everybody and love each other regardless of that stigma, we still come together. So that to me was a cute cultural moment that fits very well within this type of song category.
Well, I think what's interesting about some of these cultural songs is we are able to learn about other cultures throughout Europe that you and I may not necessarily have an opportunity to explore in our everyday. Certainly for me, Armenia in 2024 this year with Jako, like that was just fun to know more about their culture, but also to kind of know the history about the song and just being kind of an empowering song for the artist. So it's really just a great way to know more.
Yeah, and I feel like, the cultural traditional songs might not be the ones that are immediate favorites for me, but I think that those are some of the ones that the artists have the most fun with, like particularly talking about Armenia this year. First listen, I was not necessarily sold on it, but they were having so much fun with it that the performance, like, I was so won over. And so that's always really fun to see as well when they just lean into this cultural celebration of Eurovision, which is something that it really gets to be in a way that, another talent show type of thing would not necessarily be. So that's really fun part for me.
I think samesies, and I could be wrong, but I also think about Electric Fields this year from Australia. I would put them in that traditional and cultural song genre category this year. Not necessarily based off of... They had a didgeridoo. When you see them on stage, they are true representation of Australia's origin and Australia's roots, and to modernize it and make it what it was for this year's performance, I would put them in that traditional and cultural category as well. Again, was not sold on them up until I finally saw them performing live, to which then I was more on board with it.
Well, one that I came across recently that I was not really that familiar with, but it was Ireland's from 2007 with They Can't Stop the Spring by Dervish. That one, just comes in with those like Irish flutes and, it's kind of more of like the Celtic feel. And so I thought that one definitely fit into that category.
I'm going to have to look into that one now.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Can't say I'm familiar with that.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love good Irish melody?
I know, a little jig.
Yeah.
Or just Irish men in general, but whatever.
So that kind of brings us to the transition maybe to our next category, to talk a little bit about foreign language. Now, for our purposes, foreign language is going to be anything other than English. And it should be noted that of Eurovision winners, 46% of winners have been in English and 54% have been in something other than English. So I would say that's a relatively close split.
Totally.
You have a pretty fair split there of 50-50, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
now, I question on that one, though. Would you say that is partially skewed just because for such a long period of time, they did have those regulations in place that prohibited countries from performing in English if that was not their native language?
Right. It was requiring them to do a song in one of, if not their only official language of the country.
And you're right. Maybe that has skewed it. I mean, obviously, we could take a deeper dive into the years specific, but knowing that that's a pretty tight split, given how many years they were required to sing in the national language, Stephen, I think you might be onto something that in more modern times, is it more English favored? I wonder.
Just based off of the last couple of years, 2021 was in Italian, 2022 was Ukrainian, and then 23 and 24 were English. So yeah, if you were to take a sample just based off of the last 4 years, you will see that it pairs with this 50-50 split.
50. Yeah. So given all of that, let's talk about some of our favorites. Now, for me, I will be slightly biased. I have started learning French. I took my mom to France last year, and I'm kind of partial to some of the French songs. So, like Fighter this year from Luxembourg, that was a fun split of both French and English. Obviously, Évidemment from France in 2023. Big fan of that. So those are ones that stand out for me. I will say, like I said, biased towards French, but those are the two that jump out.
The one I go back to over and over again from 2023 is Slovenia's entry, Joker Out by Carpe Diem. I love that song so much. And that one, like, I'm always listening to it in the car. Like, there will be just some times where I'm like, I got to add this to queue because I don't care that I'm listening to Beyonce right now. I really just need this song.
Do I know what they were saying? Absolutely not. Do I care? Also no.
Yeah, I care. I don't care at all. And then of course, like there's Cha 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 from 2023. Yep. That's Finland's entry from Käärijä. So that one also very fun. I actually, fun fact, one time Casey, my husband, and I were driving down the road listening to that at top volume when he finally came around to the Eurovision songs from 2023, which was probably July.
About time.
Yeah, we were just like driving down the road, windows down, listening to Cha Cha Cha, and this guy came up with like American flags decked out everywhere, literally flipped us off, I think, for not listening to music in English. And I was like, boy, chill.
We're not, yeah, like, I hate when people do that.
It's just so silly.
So I think for me, some standout ones that are of most recent, in 2021, big fan of Loco Loco by Hurricane. They were Serbia. It's giving me not only Serbian craziness, but in the most girl pop hairography type of manner.
Yes.
That every time it comes onto my playlist, I wish that I still had, my bun so that I could just whip it all around.
You're wanting to do like a Thunderstruck style Dallas Cowboy cheerleader dance to it.
Basically. Preferably with wind blowing in my hair at the same time. Obvi.
Of course.
Having just recently watched that, my first thought was, this is basically European Destiny's Child. Like,
yes.
let's do it.
At its finest. At its finest.
Girl.
And then another one, I think also from the same year, but from SHUM. And the song SHUM. And it's from Go A, Ukraine's representative for that year. That one's a great one too. It's, again, so fast beat, so fast paced, and just want to get in there and rage with her in Ukrainian.
Well, and I think this goes back to kind of some conversations we've had before about your choice to do it in English or another language, and whether that's going to help you or hurt you. So we talked about Carpe Diem already, Katie. I remember sending this to you when I first heard this song in English, and I was just like, I don't know what this is and why this is happening. This needs to not be in English.
They're just words.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of prefer just trying really hard to learn 3 minutes of Slovenian.
As opposed to translating it all in English.
Yeah, I don't need to know.
And another, I'll throw this one out too, just because I actually, you would think that I would be able to speak Spanish much better, being that that's a huge makeup of my background. I'm sorry, it's not. But I did study painstakingly this year because I wanted to sing along to Nebulosa's Zorra this year. And by golly, I did it. It was not pretty, but there were enough people in the background to also be singing along that you could barely hear me anyway. But another foreign language, I know there's a lot of controversy behind it because, Zorra is slang for pretty much vixen or bitch or, all of the derogatory things that you could think of that come behind that word. But that's one song that's she's taking it. She's taking the word back. Exactly. And I loved
a reclaim. I love a reclaim like that. And that one also, I mean, that's just like a get up and dance kind of song, which I feel like, I think we're going to have more foreign language ones sprinkled throughout here. But I think that brings us to like some pop club vibes, because that made me want to be, Zorra made me want to be in a dark, sweaty club and just doing my thing.
Yes. Too many pop clubbish songs to even rattle off for this group. But I will say, of most recently, as we've been diving into several of the years, Ivi Adamou, I believe is how you pronounce her last name, with her song La La Love. She represented Cyrus back in 2012. That's a pop song that is great in audio. Live is also good. However, I immediately watch that performance every time, and it reminds me of drunk Stephanie Banks thinking that she is giving the performance of her life, but she's really just drunk and barely able to keep it together with her girlfriends.
Oh, be careful referencing that. I think I have it on video.
I know.
And head over to TikTok for more.
Only with your permission, of course, Miss Stephanie. Of
course, Miss Stephanie. For our listeners, Stephanie Banks is my drag persona. She only comes out once a year. It's usually Halloween, and it never fails that at the Halloween party, there just comes a moment where Stephanie thinks that she is giving the performance of a lifetime, only for a heel to break, her wig to fall off, and somehow finding herself on the floor. Thankful that she's got bloomers on and not exposing the world to what's going on.
The telltale sign of when Stephanie Banks is coming out is when you have gone to change your wig. And that's why the wig falls off, because you've put on a new wig mid-evening.
Bless
and
it.
if we're lucky, all three of those things will occur over the course of the evening.
Yeah.
And then the night usually ends with a bag of Doritos, and Katie is sitting on the opposite side of the room from me because she cannot stand Doritos.
It's true. This is true. This is one of my character flaws, and I accept it.
But La La Love from Cyprus 2012, that's a club pop song that will now forever play on my playlist because it puts me in that mindset. Ready, set, go.
And there's, as you mentioned, there's just so many pop songs, and we could sit and list them all day. But there's one that I need to give some love to. It's from 2021. They did not make the finals, and I have no idea how that happened. It's TikTok by, is it Albina?
I think she pronounces her name Albania.
Okay.
Albina.
So
Albina,
not to be confused with the country.
The nation. The nation.
But TikTok is the title of the song. It's from Croatia 2021. It did not make the finals. It's a shame, but it is a bump.
Her name, it's Albina. Croatia also. 11th place in her semifinal. She barely missed it and was so close. And I share the same sentiment with you, Doug. I was devastated that she did not qualify to the grand final because I loved that song. Still do.
And, this is my song that got me into Eurovision was Queen of the Kings from Alessandra, Norway from 2023.
Amazing song.
That makes me want to run through walls and conquer the world.
Don't you just feel so empowered after listening to it?
So powerful.
Yes.
So powerful. And it's like, it makes me want to dance. It's so fun. And I love that one in the pop category.
Yep. I think another one for me as well, Eleni, we'll just start with Eleni. She was also Cyprus, 2018, runner-up for Eurovision with her song Fuego, and we were blessed this year with her as an opening act during 2024 semifinal one, so we got a little taste of what she is capable of doing it live on stage, and it was just as good this year as it was back in 2018.
So, not to stay on pop songs for forever, so any other ones that we want to mention before we get into another genre?
I'll throw one more out there just because I feel like we have to. 2022, Brooke, Ireland, That's Rich. She was another one. Did not make it past semifinals, but should have. And is another song. Plays with me to this day, still.
Well, and it's wild because that song I discovered before having watched Eurovision.
Wow.
That came up on Spotify and was just like, Spotify knew I was going to love it, obviously. But to hear that they didn't even make finals, it's going to be on my playlist. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's my last one for pop.
So let's kind of go into a potentially a smaller category, knowing that 2.8% of the winners have been from rock. So kind of a rock metal vibes. We know there has been a winner from that, that being Måneskin from Italy 2021. Personally, their song from their winning song was good, but I'll be honest, I like some of their other stuff since Eurovision. They're probably the most popular mainstream name right now. Would you say that's accurate?
I would say of most recently, that has come out of Eurovision.
And I would say that they're kind of following the Celine Dion path, where their song from Eurovision is far from their most famous song, and they've gotten a lot more recognition and a lot more notoriety since then. like people have probably heard their version of Beggin because it's kind of everywhere, and it's so good because
so good.
His voice is just like unlike anything else that I've heard. But yeah, I feel like that's kind of, I wasn't super familiar with their Eurovision song, but know of them in other things since then.
And within the same year too, I think they also were on SNL and performed on SNL. So they had the notoriety, and Eurovision just kind of helped bolster it for them.
Yeah. For the rock category, I would be remiss not to mention my husband's favorite song, which was last year. It was Promise from Voyager, Australia, or 2023, I should say when I say last year. That's his favorite song. It's grown on me so much since Eurovision.
It grows on you, yes.
It does.
It does. Absolutely.
Didn't get the whole car on stage motif when it was going on, but it's like, I think partially just because of how much he loves it, it's hard for me not to.
Well, it's hard not to love something that Casey loves, because he's so adorable when he does. And for him at the Eurovision party to just be sitting there and seeing Australia slipping further and further away from the probability of winning, and his sadness because of it, and him screaming, "That's not fair. This is the greatest song ever." You can't help but also love the song a little bit more because Casey loves it so much.
It's the passion. There's so much passion there. It's amazing.
And it really just tells you that, like, there is a genre for everyone, and there is a song for everybody, and just because it's not for you doesn't mean somebody else isn't just jamming out to it.
I agree. I think most recently I found the group is AWS. They represented Hungary that year for Eurovision with their song Viszlat Nyar. Couldn't tell you what it's about, but that is rock metal at its core. They are screaming on stage, they are body surfing with the crowd. When the song is over, it's like mic drop, and he's just giving the camera the death stare as he's walking off the stage. And I'm like, that is rock. That is rock and metal at its finest. And safe to say, I'm not the biggest rock metal follower, but I fucks with that song. So
yeah. And that another thing, one that maybe you've seen like clips of that are like, what is happening at Eurovision, is Lordi from Finland, Hard Rock Hallelujah.
Is he the one that is dressed up and just is, I mean,
a monster,
visually terrifying?
The whole band looks like orcs from Lord of the Rings. They're the Uruk-hai, basically. And also he's in the news, the lead singer is, because he's like, I don't like Eurovision songs anymore. And it's like, because the metal is not as well represented as it was in your day. And he does acknowledge that, where he's like, I'm not into pop really. And it's like, well, okay, that makes sense then.
You were dressed as a freaking goblin on stage. Yeah. I would not think that you would be first in line to get tickets to see Loreen or somebody like that.
Or, listen to a song called We Will Rave. Not really your vibe.
We get it.
Well, I mean, they're from Finland. Finland has had a recent rock entry with Dark Side from 2021. So, I mean, I would actually look at that and say, like, there were two rocks in the same year, both Italy and Finland in 2021. In 2023, we had Voyager with Australia, and then there was also Blood and Glitter from Germany that same year. So you're definitely seeing multiple rock in the years.
But are they making it to the finals?
Well, Blood and Glitter did, but that's
by default. By default,
they paid
and
there.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And
so, but we still give love to those of the rock and metal genre. They still end up on my playlist, so I'm not arguing that it's.
I'm gonna say, like, Blood and Glitter is for me a memorable song. I know it didn't necessarily do very well. It was on the right side of the scoreboard, but it's still on my playlist.
Still on mine too. That's all that matters.
I will never forget that one-legged jumpsuit for as long as I live.
The costume outfit was a choice, yes.
Yeah.
And by that you mean a good choice.
It was a choice.
Choices were
But again, that's something that I feel like is just like, you can look at a picture of that and just, at least I can now, like immediately be like, that's probably Eurovision, wasn't it?
Yes.
Like, where else?
Which, let's segue right into it. Like, let's talk about those songs that you look at and you're just like, that is so Eurovision. So, what do we got?
The one that I discovered literally earlier today, Ireland 12 Points, from the artist is Dustin the Turkey from Ireland, 2008. It is a literal turkey puppet. You guys have to watch this video. It's absolutely insane. There's like other dancers around it, but it's this turkey puppet on a cart singing this song. It's so bizarre, and I love it.
The artist name says it all, right? Sometimes Dustin the Turkey.
Exactly.
When I think That's So Eurovision 2021 with Jendrik, he represented Germany, and the song I Don't Feel Hate. He has a person in an inflatable middle finger dancing on the stage with him, and that's what they're there to do, to basically say to the song's point, I don't feel hate, and if you hate me, fuck you. So
well, wasn't it supposed to be like a peace sign when she was having her, she would have her hand in one of the fingers, and so as long as her hand was up, it was like, oh, it's a peace sign. But then she puts her hand down, and it's like, ooh.
Most of the time, the peace sign was not up.
Not so peaceful.
So it was not as peaceful as that. But
Stephen, remind us again the name of that song.
It's I Don't Feel Hate. The artist is Jendrik, 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 and that one makes you think. So but also, and it was just in 2023. Let 3 with
Yes.
Mamashka.
For better or for worse.
I was going to bring that one up, and also fits into our rock category, I think.
It's a little bit of everything.
I think you get yourselves rock and metal and quirky at the same time.
Because, I mean, the old men in their underwear holding rockets. There's just a lot going on.
A lot's happening on that stage.
If you went to AI and said, make me a Eurovision song that is just so over the top that people won't know what to do with it, you'd get this song.
I'm pretty sure you would.
That's also how I felt about Windows 95 Man in 2024 with No Rules, because the denim egg on stage, that was actually when I was trying to explain to coworkers, like, oh, aren't we so excited? It's Eurovision this week. And they were like, what is that? And I was like, this is what that is. With the egg opening and a man in a Windows 95 blurred out because he can't have a logo, t-shirt, looking like he's not wearing any underwear, or like looking like he's like naked, and for the pear to come down from the sky and then sparklers come out of it, and singing a EDM techno song about no rules. I mean, come on.
So much happening.
And how do I even put this? Do you put Tattoo Loreen in that category as well? Because the woman, bless her, and it's a good song, don't get me wrong, but the woman is, it won. The woman is doing yoga in a panini press.
But see, I think I think she was way too serious about it for it to fall into the That's So Eurovision category.
Right,
because
fair.
I think
there
has to be a tongue-in-cheek, like, jokiness to it where it's like, we know what we're about. And yes, the Eurovision movie with Will Ferrell is correct. And I don't think that was what Loreen was really going for.
Fair.
She was going for, like, an artistic, like, listen to how good I sing.
Fair. I guess
she
same with her.
Very seriously.
She's so serious.
Then same with her ab workout that we watched on stage this year.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a choice as well.
The end.
Yeah.
She was like That's So Eurovision, the serious version.
Right. That's So Eurovision for people who are like, no, I promise it's not a joke. It's really a serious thing, which it is, but it's also very fun, and you kind of need to have the duality of it. And that's what I enjoy the most about it, is you can get a beautiful love song like with France this year with Slimane. So good, so beautiful. I teared up, amazing, but also Windows 95 band was there. And you have to know that you're sharing a show and sharing a stage with, both with all different kinds.
With that.
Well, it would just not be the same if it was everybody just did the same thing. Like if it was just, I mean, I love my pop, don't get me wrong, but if it was just 39 pop songs, like, I don't know, okay.
Then it's just a Now album.
Do they still make those?
Oh, I think they're on like volume 105 or something.
My word. Oh my gosh. So
to round us out, maybe I will just also mention Joost. How can you not? You're
right.
a papa. We saw him in the semifinals. We did not see him in the finals. If you don't know why, if you haven't run into any of that, go look it up. But he represented Netherlands 2024, and that is quintessential Eurovision.
Again, in the theme with the Dustin the turkey, did have a bird on stage.
He did.
That's a thing.
A bluebird at that too. I think we will give that man his time when we sit down and talk about the 2024 Eurovision Song Contest as a whole, but also when Doug and I, and perhaps a few others, chime in and talk about what our experience entailed while we were there for the Eurovision Song Contest this year. Because what people were fed and what people saw getting posted out at that time is only part of it. When you were actually there, it is like a whole heightened sense of anxiety and stress going on all at the same time. So I think for sure, yes, Joost, and we will put a pin in that one because I know that we just need to give the man some time.
Yeah.
We will give him his credit. So with that said, we've kind of talked about the foundation of Eurovision. For our new listeners, you now know some rules, some critical history. We talked about some of the performances, talked about some genres. So I think this is where we get to say that next week we are excited to dive into a recap of 2024. We're going to talk about the semifinals, the tragedies of those who didn't make it out of semifinals, our favorite songs. So if you want to follow along in our conversation, I encourage you to watch 2024 if you haven't already. It's available on Peacock in the United States. And depending on where you may be listening to us from, maybe check out YouTube or the national broadcaster for wherever you're at. That'll do it for this episode. Thanks for listening. If you would like to support the show, please subscribe and rate us and give it a share. You can also like and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Eurovision Kiki. You can get in touch with us at eurovisionkiki@gmail.com. Thanks again, and we'll see you at the next Kiki.